In this video, we are going to be talking about how to approach a sales document or a project like a creative director would. Now, I'm going to try to kind of disassemble something that is otherwise seen as like the arcane arts of marketing and advertising, which is how to come up with a creative idea. Now, ideas and concepts mean different things to different people, but I'm specifically talking about the advertising idea that generates emotion. The reason why this is important is because we are human beings. We don't think the way that we think that we think. Here's an example. Somebody once said that marketing or human behavior is like a man riding an elephant. The man thinks he's in charge. He will have a stick and prod the elephant this way and that, and the man thinks that he's ultimately directing where he goes. And this is like the brain. But us marketers, us advertisers, we know that it's not the brain that makes the decisions. It's the elephant, and the elephant is the emotional world of the person. If that elephant sees a comb of bananas hanging on a tree and that elephant is hungry, it is going to go and eat those bananas. It does not matter what the man thinks he wants or what he does. If the elephant is that hungry, the elephant's going to go for the bananas. So why this is really important is because we need to recognize that the people we are presenting to are human beings. They are essentially the elephant. We need to be able to communicate in a way that isn't just factual, but has an underlying narrative. Alfred Hitchcock used to write two scripts, two versions of the same movie script. One is all of the text and the lines that happens in the movies, just like a normal script. On the other script, parallel to that, he writes what he wants the audience to feel at each and every moment. And we're going to get into that in the last part of this training. So the man and the elephant, or the woman and the elephant, is the rational mind and the emotional world. Now, what makes comedy comedy? What makes a joke a joke? Well, if you think about it, it's A plus B equals zebra. It's when you take the listener all the way round to the garden, what they call leading them up the garden path and then hitting them with a shovel. You take them all the way around this narrative, but you do not finish the final part. It's called the gap. You let them fill in the gap. And when they do fill in the gap, they get this sense of enjoyment, release, where they're like, oh, that's so funny. I never thought of that. Or I was always wanting to say that, It's like these are the things that make ideas sticky. And a joke is a perfect example of that. It's the thing that is not said, that is implied, that is finished off by somebody else. If you think about it, we often communicate with our best friends like this, where we don't say everything verbatim. In fact, a lot is left unsaid, and it's the unspoken moments that produced the bond between friends. It's the things that are understood without words or without demonstration or saying it explicitly. I mean, I don't want to dissect a joke, but go ahead and look at your favorite jokes or think about your favorite jokes and realize that the author of the joke has almost completed a circle, but left a little gap for you to fill. Be it a mental image that you filled it with, or something that was unsaid, or something that shouldn't be said, and that's where the humor comes in. It basically tricks our mind and our body to react to something that was unexpected, and that's really important. So what are the actual principles that go into creating something that we would consider creative. I had the benefit and the pleasure of having a conversation once with a world-renowned designer called Steven Sagmeister. And Sagmeister, we were talking about how to design something that would sell a shoe. And he said, give me something that comes to mind when, just randomly. Give me something random. And I said, chessboard. And he said, great. Well, I'm going to take the chessboard and I'm going to take the shoes and I'm going to take the pattern of the chessboard, put it onto the shoe, and then I'm going to give the shoe a name like Clockwork. And at this point, you're like, what does Clockwork have to do with chess? And then he said, and then I'm going to, between Clockwork and chessboard, I'm going to see if I can close the gap a little more. Maybe it's about, a little piece, a little chess piece imprinted in the sole of the shoe or something like that, and just close it a little bit more, and then maybe the laces have hour marks on it. I don't know, but the point is you close the gap as close as possible until the two ideas, the two thoughts are so closely linked in a way that has never been linked before, and that is the genius. Now, all of that is like all fluffy in the air, and in many ways, speaking about creative and ideas is a bit like that. It's a bit hard to put into words, but I've narrowed it down to 3 principles that, as I think about it, I've applied over and over again in design, advertising, marketing, jokes, sales documents, sales pitches, you name it, because it connects a human insight, a truth about how people tick, and an idea. And when you put those two together, you've got something that's very powerful and difficult to forget. In fact, it's very difficult to argue with an idea once you've already agreed with the human insight, which is the whole premise of internet memes. Internet memes are based on human insights. When we see it, we recognize the human insight, either about ourselves or about society or about our families. I mean, I think of a show called Everybody Loves Raymond. That show is full of human insight. Who would have thought that everybody's family is essentially like Raymond's family in one way or another? We can recognize the people. And when the idea of this average guy trying to live this more than average life, that's where the comedy comes in, because you've got this human insight matched with the idea of Raymond, this sports presenter who lives next door to his family. I mean, this is the setup that's like going to create so many, it's the platform that's going to create so many great stories and great comedy, and creativity is just like that. So the 3 principles are these. They are the leap, the love, and the lines. Now, yes, they're all L's, and again, I've chosen 3 L's because, well, I wanted to make it sticky. Here's the leap. When you are designing something or coming up with a piece of creative communication, there are typically 2 parts. There's the picture, and then there's the text. Now, typically, they shouldn't both try to be clever. If the image is clever, let's say the image is a metaphor, then the line, the text, should be straight. It should be straighty 180, just clear. If the line is clever, using double entendres, triple entendres, twists and turns, or alliteration or rhyme, then the image should not try to be clever. The image should be straightforward and plain. In between those two, the marriage of the line and the image is the emotion that is evoked. So I could have taken, for example, this picture. I could have taken, if I typed leap into Google search or a stock image library, I'd probably have found an image of somebody jumping off a cliff. And the reason why that's so cliche is that it's not a great leap as a metaphor. We've seen it so many times. It's cliche, it's drab. But when I thought about a leap, I thought about, Neil Armstrong jumping on the moon with low gravity. And then I searched for astronauts jumping. And then I saw this picture of this moment. This astronaut leaps away from his spacecraft into an abyss towards this giant blue planet. I mean, you can feel the emotion of the astronaut, like, oh my gosh. Now, if it didn't have the words "the leap" and instead called it "the marble" or "the box" or "the final step" or "danger," if the words said boredom, all of a sudden, between the image that you see and the words that you heard, it evokes different kinds of emotions. The meaning changes. And so when you are creating a piece of communication, challenge yourself to take the leap. And great creative directors will see something that has a little leap and challenge the people they are leading to take a more emotional leap. Push the boundaries. How else can this be expressed? What is the extreme version of this? Or if we go 50 years into the future and look back, what would the image be? Or if we went 100 years into the past and looked forward, what would that image be? What's a metaphor that we could use? What's the most extreme metaphor? What's the most uncommon metaphor that you've heard? Maybe it's an Akan proverb from Africa that you want to use. But regardless, you need to take a leap. And it needs to be unexpected for the person who's seeing it or hearing it. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's the leap. The second part of a great piece of creative communication or design is the love. When you look at it, it should invoke a feeling of it should invoke something visceral. Okay, so oftentimes when we look for images, for example, we go to stock libraries and we look for, let's say, if we say excitement, you type in excitement and you see photos of people like that. And it's what we call stocky. Why do we call it stocky? Well, because it's cerebral. It's saccharine. It's like it's fake sweetness, or it's fake emotion, or it's contrived or tenuous. However, a great writer will not say the man felt nervous. No, he'll say the man chewed the inside of his cheek and let out a puff of air and said, etc. So what we do is we look for the human insights, the cues that we all understand what it means. So we're saying it without saying it. And you can do the same thing for an image. For example, when I wanted to express this part of the training, which is the love, I didn't show a heart. I didn't show two people in love. I showed pupils dilating. Now, whether you knew pupils dilating or not, the image and the words love instantly conveyed meaning to you. And it came with it a gap between the image and the words that you filled in your brain, which produced emotion inside you. And we have to be clear that we're producing an emotive response. It's not necessarily producing emotion like anger or fear or jealousy, but all, that can be created in really great creative, but at very least it's emotive, it's visceral. You feel and experience the communication as opposed to cerebral. I have a feeling you're getting this. I think you're getting it. So I'm going to move on here. So the leap, the love. You can imagine this is very powerful. So the final one is the lines. The lines are more than just words. It is about narrative. It's about telling a story. Haiku is popular and powerful, if you understand haiku, because if you meditate on what the haiku is saying, you're actually going through a visceral journey that the author themselves went through as they wrote this haiku poem. So when we think about lines, I think about who does this really well. Apple on their website does this really well. They have these short lines that tap into human insight, and on their own they work powerfully, but together they form a story. And by the end of that story, you've got desire upon desire upon desire upon desire, and it produces this like need or want, as opposed to just a like or an agreement. So lines are very important. Now, if you take great narrative and you put great emotional mix and emotive responses in there, knowing what the user is going to feel or the viewer is going to feel, and then take that and put rocket fuel onto it by taking a leap, you've got the makings of an incredible piece of creative. And we could probably do a follow-up training of actual examples, but let's take a moment there and think about what we've spoken about. Why is this important? This is important because human beings are story-driven. We are emotive creatures. Our behavior is based on desires and wants and fears and ambitions and a quest for significance, these core human drivers that motivate us, but they're not socially acceptable to talk about. So we create other reasons on top of it, like saying, I want to help people, or, the board expects this, these results, or the unspoken thing when people say things like the board expects these results, the unspoken part of that is my job and my significance in this role is on display. If you can relate to that, then you realize that the people that we're communicating to, corporates, executives, CEOs, marketing directors, marketing managers, regardless, entrepreneurs, they all feel these things because we're all human. So then we are deconstructing so that we can reconstruct the 3 L's, which is the leap, the love, and the lines. Now, how do we structure a better sales document? Getting to the nuts and bolts of it. How do we apply this and kind of use a sales document as an example? Well, nature. You're probably thinking, what a weird picture. This is the most unnatural picture that you could put with the word nature. Shouldn't you have put something from a David Attenborough film? But isn't it powerful that I've got the word and then there's a leap, and in between you're left hanging. And if I leave you hanging, and if I don't explain this picture, it'll be sticky. You will think about this. You will think about, why did he choose that? What does it mean? And your subconscious will go to work. Whether you think about it or not, your subconscious is going to work trying to make meaning out of this. But I'm going to tell you why I chose this picture. Because we all love Netflix. Because we all love stories. Stories is not new. Entertainment is not new. Stories are in the fabric of our DNA. Storytelling is the epitome of human culture. Long before we had Netflix, we had campfires and stories. So the acronym that I want to seed into your mind is nature. By nature, these are the things that will make us respond to a sales document. And yeah, it's an acronym. It's not always in this order. NATURE. You might do NATRUE or EUR or something like that. But the point is, I want you to remember nature. The first is novelty. Now, we did use a couple in love. But what does novelty mean? And what's it got to do with a couple in love? Well, the first thing you want to do when you come into a sales presentation is to pattern interrupt. It's to arrest the attention with novelty in the way that at the checkout lines at a supermarket or a petrol station or a Kmart, you've got small items that are new, that you've never tried before. The headlines on the magazines are all about new news and titillating factoids or rumors, and that's novelty. We can't resist it. It's like no matter how hard you are to a sales pitch or a slimy sales guy, not that you should be a slimy sales guy, we cannot resist novelty. So we want to start with a big promise. We want to start with something they've never thought of before, something they've never seen before, which is why so many speeches start with a joke. Start with novelty. Then you want to gain agreement. This is rapport building. Find things that we can agree on, like human insight, like strategy, like, we may not agree on the outcome or on the way to achieve it, but we will agree on what needs to be achieved. So find agreement. So start with novelty, then find agreement. Here is where we might do something like, talk about the problems or the challenges. Yes, we all agree. Yes, write the problems. And then flip it on its head. These are the things that we want to solve. Yes. These are all the things that we want to solve. Yes. So you want to, some people call it a yes ladder. So you want to get agreement in this part of the document. Then you want to build some tension. There are a couple of ways to do this. The prospect knows the problem that they have, typically. They may even know the solution, but they haven't got a solution that they can deploy. The boat is on the rock. It's not in the water. Or they don't know how to sail. Or the boat's broken. Maybe they don't know that there's a storm up ahead and the boat that they have is inadequate. So that's called stretching the knowledge gap. You build tension by going, here's what we agreed. We built novelty, so we're on the same page. But then I know all this, and you're here. That provides tension. Or you call the elephant out in the room. Like, some salespeople will say, you're probably thinking that this is going to be a long and boring conversation. And to be honest, you're probably right. That's tension. Why does that build tension? Because you just acknowledged that it'll be long and boring. But it allows you to do something more interesting in the next step. So here you want to build tension. Sometimes you can list the problems that seem too great to solve, like, making it feel complicated and how the industry is struggling. And there's all of these external factors and forces that are stopping us from being able to solve this problem. Create tension, create drama. This is, it's somebody called it the crocodile brain. When you present danger, it's like we can't help but pay attention because anything dangerous or dramatic or tension, think about movie story arcs. It always has great tension. Then you want to build in a sense of urgency, that this is something that is important to solve. This is something that needs to happen now, or needs to happen before your competitors do it, or it needs to happen because this opportunity to make a legacy in your role or your career is now. This is the time to act. It's a closing window. It's passing soon. Create urgency. Another way to do that is through scarcity. So create urgency. And then finally, you want to give relief. Relief is, we know how to do it. We've done it before. Here's what we've built. Here's what people have said. Here's other people we've done it for. Here's our credibility. So all of this then goes, wow, what a roller coaster, which produces exhilaration. Exhilaration is a response to novelty when you have gone beyond presenting an idea to experiencing the solution. Exhilaration is like travel. Exhilaration is that moment after relief where you're like, whoa, I think I love this person. Or, whoa, pictures don't do this place justice. Or, whoa, where have you been? Like, you explained it in a way that I couldn't articulate. You gave me clarity. I feel like there's a clear path to my goals, to success. And that's the recap of how to structure a sales document. In each part of those segments, nature, Nature, you can use your 3 L's. So you can create a 6-page document, a 1-page document. You can create a 50-page document, so long as you are baking it with all of the pieces and the ingredients that make a good piece of work world-class. Don't be scared to break rules. Rules can be an effective pattern interrupt. That's why Gary Vee swears so much, because you wouldn't expect a wise expert to be swearing and carrying on like a sailor. It pattern interrupts. It gives the sense of authenticity and trust. But, not everybody works on that. Some will do the exact opposite. If somebody came in with neck tattoos and face tattoos and spoke as sweetly as a songbird, well, that would be a pattern interrupt too. Okay? So, let's recap. We are emotional beings. We respond to emotive cues. We can deconstruct great creative, great artwork, great stories through the leap, the love, and the lines. We can then extrapolate that out into a conversation or a piece of communication using the nature process, Nature. Well, this is it. I hope this has been helpful. If you want to see more of these, please do reach out. And if you want to see examples, let me know. I'm happy to show you examples, both old and new. Thanks for joining. Bye.